Hello, you have arrived at Time Flies Unless You Manage It. Thank you for attending. We realize that you have a lot of other opportunities and places to spend your time. So thank you for joining us on the live webinar and also choosing to watch this later on at your convenience. I'm Rebecca Rose. I'm a certified veterinary technician and I've been in the field for 30 years. It's hard to believe. I'm the founder and president of Catalyst Veterinary Practice Consultants, and some of the things that I've been doing in my career, the past president of the National Association for Veterinary Technicians in America, an international presenter, but I also present at local and state conferences. I'll actually be at a number of state conferences this fall. Seems to be a buzz around that time. And I'm also an author. Now, this is just the cliff notes of things that I've done in my career, and there's so many others. But it brings me great pleasure to offer these kinds of offerings to you and your team. And know that you will be receiving notes to follow up with, and we'd like for you to transfer this to your team and be able to utilize this material with your team as well. So Ralph Waldo Emerson had this to say: "Don't waste life in doubts and fears. Spend yourself on the work before you, well assured that the right performance of this hour's duties will be the best preparation for the hours and ages that will follow." Isn't that amazing? That's a powerful statement. You know, be in the moment, be present, be focused on what you're doing with intent, knowing that it will support everything else in the future. Our topics today, which will last about 45 minutes, maybe this Q&A period of time, include values, vision, and mission. How are those guiding principles moving you down your path? Simply prioritizing. Ooh, how do we choose what needs to be prioritized? Getting organized, which is easier said than done. The idea of delegating as a time management tool. And this saying no gracefully. I'm sure a number of you are shaking your head saying, yeah, I definitely need to work on that one. And I'm going to give you some tips to say no gracefully. Those of you that attended last month, we focused on personal and professional values, vision, and mission. And knowing that those are the guiding principles to help you define your path, set those priorities, get organized, instead of saying, I'm going to do it all, which we want to, but realizing that these are my personal values. And this is what I'm going to hold on to. And these will be helping me guide me down this path. And definitely that vision of the future. Where do I want to be in a year? That really sets us up to say, this no longer aligns with my vision. So then it helps us to prioritize within that space. Then on a daily basis, how do we work this into our mission? And let these statements define your path. So clearly define, create, work within, and use these as tools, your personal and professional values, vision, and mission. And then realize that they can direct and prioritize things in your life. So how will you use your values to do that? Be really clear. I put up here that beginning each day and ending each day with gratitude is a great value. So if you value gratitude, this will help you. In the morning, create that routine. What do I value? What am I grateful for? Remember, these are solid tools for you to bring into your life. Then consider your hospital's value, vision, and mission? What does your team value? What is the shared vision? Do they know? When was the last time you brought these to the forefront? Hopefully, if I were to walk into your veterinary hospital and I asked your team, what are your current values, vision, and mission? They could tell me. And if that's not the current state, then it might be time to evaluate these statements for your veterinary hospital, because they can be, when used correctly, a guiding force for defining the purpose and being on the same page and getting where you need to go as a team. What is your daily mission? And how are you going to have goals in order to reach that vision and mission? In your work, let these statements be your guide in establishing those tasks, duties, and projects on a daily basis, a weekly, monthly, and even yearly basis. That's what they're designed for. That's what we have them for. So simply think, is our hospital's mission something that we're really living and breathing? Does our team know it? Do they have it memorized? Is it part of our daily conversations? And if not, it's time to reintroduce that or even create it. How will your hospital's vision direct and prioritize your time for everybody on the veterinary team? How will you choose to take things off of that back burner and when to place them on that front burner? I think I'm constantly asking myself that. What's most pressing? But these shouldn't be that difficult to answer when you have a defined values, vision, and mission statements. Some of you may think, oh my gosh, the way I get through the day and the way I'm so productive is that I multitask. Well, there is this myth about multitasking. So if you feel like you're in this position like this woman is here, double computers, pounding all the coffee, having that iPad in front of her, 2 phones going at the same time. Now this looks different for everybody on the veterinary team, but if that's where you feel you live all the time, I'm here to tell you that that's not the highest, biggest, most impressive way to be productive. In all actuality, multitasking is usually where those mistakes happen, usually where miscommunications happen. So think about, I'm juggling the cat or the dog, I'm calculating upcoming prescriptions in my head, I'm standing in the doorway with inventory boxes in my hand, answering a question behind me. You know, that's not probably the best place to be. So coming back to that Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote, being focused in the moment, that's where there is clarity, and that's what we want to shoot for all the time. Again, regardless of the position on the veterinary team. So you may have been surprised, as I was, to realize that we all have the same 168 hours in a week, right? We're at work 40 plus hours a week, yes. But how productive are we in that time? So simply ask yourself and give this scale of 1 to 5. How do you manage your time? If you say, yeah, I'm at a strong 3.5, then there's obviously room for growth. And probably everybody here during this live webinar and in the future when you're listening to this, give yourself a number, because it's only from there that we can improve. And we're going to give you a lot of tips and tricks to improve in that time management piece. So where do you give yourself? You know, personally, I'm going to give myself a strong 4. I think I do pretty well, but there's always room for improvement. And I hate it when I have a deadline, even though I sort of have a hard deadline today. And here I am, I need to work in that space because I've procrastinated. But give yourself a score, 1 to 5. You will be receiving 10 tips to a productive day. and it will be emailed out with the notes and the recording. So it's a great tool. You might want to use it with your team, use it in an upcoming team meeting and walk through and think about how this applies to everybody on your team in different departments. The first tip says work from a top 10 list. And you may be saying, well, I'm a veterinary technician. I come into the door and I know that I've got surgeries and exam rooms to take a look at, and I'm an assistant and I've got support for the team, and my days are not my days. Well, that's not true. Yes, you have scheduled appointments and they do guide the majority of what you're doing. But think about maybe you have special projects you've been delegated to. Maybe you have an open house that somebody's working on. How can you personally create this top 10 list to work from? And realistically, for me, I work from a top 10 list for the week, and that's how I guide where I spend my time. But work from a list, and we'll be going through the technology that can help you with this as well. The next tip, asking yourself, is this the best use of my time? Oh boy, I live in this space constantly. Most often it's when I go onto Facebook and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm here for work and I'm going to be promoting this, this, and this. And then 10 minutes later, I'm off looking at my daughter's pictures of my cutest little granddaughter in all the world, or I'm looking at an event that's coming up later in the weekend, and boom, time sucker, totally wasted. So knowing your priorities and what to be productive at, and even identifying some of your time suckers, equally powerful. If you know your phone is a time sucker, whether it's reviewing Instagram or other things, or even emails, which you say, oh, these are productive emails, is this the best time for you to be looking at it? Maybe, maybe not. So in this moment, and you're saying, hey, this is the best use of my time, and you say, yes, cool, keep doing it, keep rocking on it. If that answer is no, well, then what you do is you go back to tip number 1 and start working from your priorities list. You know, this could be you just spent 5 minutes chatting with an employee or a team member, which is fine. It's good to build those bonds and have those conversations, but is it really the best use of your time? Is there something else pressing that needs to be taken care of? How can we be most efficient with that time? Thankfully, we did get some responses from some of you attending in a survey, and I pulled some of these that I felt were really great, although there was many more. So what tips can you offer your classmates? This is what we came up with. Be familiar with how long each technician duty takes. Wow, that's a powerful task in and of itself. Really defining what it takes to set up for a surgical situation, to properly admit a new client. Are we rushing people through that process? If we have a new client that comes in and we're trying to really bond them to our team, that takes more time than someone who's here for a recheck, obviously. And are we allowing for those times? This is for technician duties, but it goes into all team members. Let's say that we have in our exam room a patient that could be a diabetic, that we're diagnosing that for the first time. Now, we could see as an assistant or technician that that might be where we're taking this office visit. Am I going to have enough time with this client and the veterinarian to work through that now? Or is it in our best interest to possibly set up an educational consultation to talk about the complexity of diabetes? Wow. Sometimes I think we rush through all of that and don't give the appropriate amount of time to build that educational experience for the benefit of the pet and the client. So coming back to this tip, really identifying how long does it take to do some of these tasks? And are we setting our team members up for failure or success by properly giving the time due to that task? There's another tip. I tackle my little rocks so my mind can be clear for my big rocks. I find it allows me to check boxes and feel like I'm accomplishing things. I'm right there with you, sister. Man, I'm checking boxes and writing through lines, that accomplishment piece. But then she says that it clears her mind to be able to put and move forward the projects that will take more time. So think about that. How much time is given and allotted, and do I have the time to sit down for that 30-minute block? Do I have the time to sit down for that 1-hour block and work on a project outside of my duties or even within my duties? This is another great tip. Make a list at the end of each day of my priorities for the next day. Fantastic. She uses Outlook to remind me of reoccurring tasks, and we will look at technology in a moment for those reoccurring tasks like she uses. Here's another good one. I intentionally wake up early on Sunday to organize my weekly goals, then spend the rest of the day for me. Hallelujah. I like this, right? You have to even put into your schedule, personally and professionally, time for me, time to play, time for fun, time for family, time for exercise. Those need to be in your calendar. For me, I value relationships. I put in my calendar time to be with family and friends. As a reminder, if you have questions that you want to ask at the end of the program, be sure to put them in the chat because we will address them at the end. Moving on to this idea of getting organized, which, truly, isn't it? It's easier said than done, isn't it? Although sometimes, most often, physically uncluttering your workspace can be hugely satisfying, and there's a lot of benefits to this as well. But think about workspace. That looks different to a lot of us on that veterinary team. We have a workspace, which could be like an office. We have a reception area, that's a workspace. Is it clutter-free? Do the clients come in and see how chaotic it is behind that desk and, oh my goodness, all the stacks and loose paper, and what does that look like? For a technician, possible workspaces include the surgery room, the surgery prep, the laboratory area. Maybe you work in a veterinary practice that has large animal work. How clutter-free is that? I've walked into some veterinary hospitals and you wonder how many people there are hoarders because they can't get rid of anything. And the benefits to having a clutter-free workspace is that it simply clears the mind. It's less stressful. It can increase efficiency. And it is healthier and oftentimes safer to have a clutter-free workspace. This healthier piece may be that it's free of last week's lunch that might be having something growing on it, which actually I was talking with a manager and she said that has happened to me. And the other thing to do too is once you've cleared off this space and now it's tidy, recognize that you did it. Celebrate its tidiness. And you'll see I'm all about celebrating, even if it's about being tidy. I forgot I put this slide in here. A few years ago, I created a VSPN class. So the Veterinary Support Personnel Network on time management. And I actually created an exercise that here's my desk, what it physically looked like, and then how I uncluttered it, how I scanned things that could be electronically scanned, how I organized the magazines that I wanted to keep, or tearing out the articles that I wanted to keep, or taking pictures of them to move that magazine off my desk. So this is what it looked like. And look, there's even a lunch. You may have a lunch in your workspace. And then feeling really good about it being clutter-free. Yes. And anybody that knows me and even watches my Facebook page, I will show a picture of my desk because that's what it looks like. And then how I've cleaned it and how satisfying that could feel. Continuing down this road of organizational tips. The majority of you who responded to our survey said that you use a combination of electronic reminders and a written to-do list. And I think that's right on, spot on. Certainly I'm in that category. So you'll see here that I have folders of different colors, especially when I'm traveling. And I do write lists because it feels good to mark it off and box exit. Sometimes, and there's probably people out there with the same idea, that I will do something, it's not on my task list, but it needs to be recognized as being done. So I'll write it in my task list and then mark it off, right? I'm sure a number of you do that as well. There's a number of pop-ups coming up on my screen. So capturing some of those thoughts and ideas are important as well. When we put things from thought to word, it has a higher inclination of being coming to fruition. So when you do have these thoughts and you're in the middle of something, continue to focus on what that is and capture that idea in the future. Put it into a sticky note that will be transferred into your phone or maybe onto the calendar, but capture it and gather it and put it somewhere. Establishing routines helps in efficiency as well as being organized. As an example, your team may walk in the door at 7:15 and be ready to have a huddle in order to start seeing clients and start surgeries at 7:30. That routine of meeting and gathering and identifying upcoming challenges, reasons for celebration, could set everybody up for success. Routines could be created even as being the surgical technician, or even routines in the laboratory setting. Routines as new clients come into the practice. What does that look like? There could be even you considering some of these standard operating procedures as routines. Those are great, powerful tools for your team. Recognizing when your most productive time is can certainly elevate your success. For me, I'm a morning person. Man, if I really want to focus on something that's going to be taking a lot of brain power from me and highly detailed, which is one of the reasons why I enjoyed surgery, because they were generally in the morning, that's my time. That's when I thrive. So if I'm focused, and the best productivity time for me is between 7 o'clock and 1 o'clock, work it. Make it work for you, because for me, by 3 o'clock, I am brain dead. That's probably when I'm going to be making more mistakes. If that's a time for me to be doing a calculation, there might be an opportunity for fudging or a mistake then. So identify for yourself, when is your most productive time, and work it. As an example, if you are not a morning person and you are having to be to work at 6:30, that might not be setting everybody up for success, mainly you. But is there an opportunity with maybe some flexibility within your veterinary hospital scheduling to come in at noon and work in the afternoon, which is your highest and most productive time? I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. That might be a conversation to have with your practice manager, setting everybody up for success. The fourth item on this tips for getting organized is delegating. And it is the next topic. So it's a good segue into delegating. So ask yourself, do I really need to do it all? Because the answer is no. That's why you have a highly trusted, formally trained, well-oiled, highly functioning team around you. And delegation can happen at all levels and through all departments, right? So we have this practice manager who's up here multitasking, which we know isn't the most productive. So what could she delegate off of her plate to somebody on her team? Now, what happens though, and what I experience is often I take something off of my plate and I put it onto somebody else's plate without taking something off of their plate. See the domino effect? And actually, when we delegate, we're helping people reach their highest potential, reach their highest goals in reaching that values, vision, and mission in their careers. Do we know what that looks like? And trust is a huge part of delegation. Delegation within family units, right? Because we're talking personal and professional. Delegating to trained team members and understanding what can be outsourced from even our veterinary team. The example that I was thinking about earlier for the outsourcing is maybe you currently have asked a technician, a doctor, and a practice manager to do some of the blogging, which they feel they can do, but that could also definitely be something that you could outsource. Being really clear on what outsourcing looks like. So when you're looking at delegation, determine what tasks and duties can be delegated. Be really clear on this. And who do you trust or is trained to take on that role? Setting realistic expectations of that and remembering what's on people's plates already. And if you're going to be moving and shuffling these delegations, what's going off of their list of duties and how can that be shared by everybody else? Comes back to this idea too about saying no eloquently. We'll dive into that in the future. But what are the realistic expectations of a project? How much time does need to be happening? What resources do they need in that delegated task? And then creating check-ins. So if I'm a lead technician and I've asked my awesome technician or even an assistant to take on inventory, that's obviously a big task. How are we going to set the people up for success? For me, that I'm asking someone else to do it and then giving them the tools to do it. Do we need to have training on computer data entry? Do we need to have training on all of the different kinds of prescription drugs that we have? What does this look like in the details? And then checking in. I'm not checking in because I don't believe they can do it. I'm just checking in to make sure they're feeling good, they're feeling supported, they're getting what they need. And I'm doing that on one-on-one. Because if I'm checking in, maybe I've sent out an email and I ask, hey, Miss Assistant, how's it going with your new tasks in inventory? And they email back and go, oh, it's going good. I got things handled, no problem. But then you have that same conversation with them one-on-one, and through body language or other things, you realize, oh, she's not as confident and she's not getting the support she needs as much as she feels it needs to happen. So then through check-ins, we're offering support. Now this is totally different from avoiding micromanaging your team, right? If you're delegating, it's because you trust. There's training, support, all of this, versus micromanaging, which we have a really good article on micromanaging, which I think we should probably be sending out. Added bonus during the handouts accompanying this. And as you know, celebrating. We need to celebrate the successes. As an example, with this assistant, maybe 3 months down the line, or this technician that's taken on this added role in inventory. Let's celebrate the fact that it's done, they're rocking on it. Yeah, there's some, hiccups here and there, no big deal, but let's acknowledge this personal and professional growth for you being delegating it and for the person taking on these added tasks. Celebration. Because empowering your team leverages your time, and everybody wins in this way. This technician or assistant that's taking on new responsibilities because it's part of their passion and part of their vision for personal and professional growth. The practice manager who's helping that and supporting in that. The veterinarian who's delegating what they need to be delegating to their team. It's awesome. This is a good place to be. Moving into the idea of saying no. How many of you do this well? How many could be improving upon this? I'm going to tell a story to help you see where I'm going with this. There's two different aspects of it. When I first moved over to Denver, I was eager to participate in some fashion within the veterinary community, and I actually became a board member on an animal welfare organization. And I enjoyed it. I felt like I was supporting and being supported and offering a lot of tools for success as the board member in the role of secretary. 3.5 years into that, I realized that there was an opportunity and a need for leadership at the National Association level for veterinary technicians. So I explained to my board that it's been a pleasure working with them, and I'm going to be transitioning out of that and working with a new organization. So that was looking at my plate and saying, through my values, vision, and mission, it was a great time working with the animal welfare group, and I'm going to have to say no to that because it was very time consuming and move into this national level leadership, which was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That's not really saying no, but it's an understanding of how values, vision, and mission help guide us down our path. Let's say, as an example, someone comes up to you as a veterinarian, a team member, a practice manager, and says, hey, we have this awesome board, and we feel your skill sets would really complement our current board. However, it doesn't really align with your commitments, or maybe that you are passionate about a triathlon or a biathlon or something like that in your future. So the way you do that is you say, oh, thank you so much for asking me to be on your board. I'm honored that my skills align with what you're doing and that you've reached out to me. I really appreciate that. However, at this time, my commitment and my passion is down this path. And you can leave it at that. You don't have to explain anything else. You can if you choose to, but I would just say, thank you for the opportunity. I can't commit at this time. That's saying no gracefully. Because you have the power to choose where you put your time and energies. You choose. Guilt has no place in being the best you. That's my own personal quote. I hope you like it. I was pretty fond of it. So it's your choice. And through your values, vision, and mission, that's how you get there. So now let's move into this idea of technology and how can this support you in time management. Oh my gosh, there's so many opportunities. The choices for time management tools are incredible. And to be honest, they can be overwhelming. So what I'm going to show you are what I use and what Catalyst use and how it supports us. So this obviously is a Google Calendar. There's other calendars. There's Outlook. again, too many to choose from, too many to list. So this is an actual snip of my Google Calendar this week. So we have a team finance survey coming, which I told you I procrastinated, but I still have till midnight tonight to get to that. We did have a weekly meeting. Here we are during our program here. I have both personal and business on here. See, Thursday is a personal. If I was meeting or had a birthday party or had a gathering with a friend, that would be in here. If I was meeting somebody to take a walk and have that time out, that would be in here. And you will see that my to-do list is on Friday. So what does that look like? This is what, when I open that up, it looks like, and I will print this off at the beginning of the week. It helps me prioritize, and at Friday, I will go through and move things from long-term to short-term. I'll redefine my short-term list for that week, and this is a great tool. There's travel arrangements. There's articles that need to be written. This is what I do. So you can do this as well. Utilizing Google has such potential. And when we think about the use of software in our veterinary hospitals, we typically only use 20%. I think this is true even for technology and apps that help in time management. We're probably only using it 20% max of its fullest potential. So other tools that we use in technology include T-sheets. This is how we track our time. And even for me, because I still do a lot of volunteering, I volunteer for the Women's Veterinary Leadership Development Initiative. I still volunteer for NAVTA. I put in my volunteer time as well. It's calculated different, but I still think within the scheme of your days and within your weeks, you need to calculate how much time are you giving away? And is it too much? And is it time to reevaluate that? Now for your team members, and there's others as well, other technology worksheets that you can use, think about it as a way of recording and reporting and finding those expectations, right? Is there value in your receptionists and technicians and assistants and doctors recording where their time's going, if in the laboratory setting, in the surgical room, in client education? Are we really allowing and offering the appropriate times needed for those duties and tasks? Do you calculate it? Do you just turn them loose and say, here's your 40-hour week, be productive? Or can you really dive into that productivity within the T-sheets or within the tools you're using within your veterinary hospital? Another tool that we use is Dropbox. It's a cloud-based platform, but there's many more. The other would be Google Docs, but these allow for those documents to live in the cloud and have people have access within real time to fix them or change them or alter them. So one cloud-based platform, and there's many. I did ask on the survey for technology that in applications you use, and there was Trello, Outlook, oh, again, so many to list. Slack is definitely an up-and-coming app, and there's others similar to Slack for veterinary teams to use. Opportunities to speak with practice managers and different people to figure out what's working best for team-based communications. Even if you Googled it, you'd probably find 15 things to choose from. Another wonderful tool is a Zoom, and this is what we're using right now. Zoom allows for me to meet with people all over the world, essentially. I've been on meetings with people in Canada. That's not around the world, but it was international nonetheless. This is a great tool for creating in-hospital training, right? For even us today, we have 10 people listening and watching the live presentation, but we have 70 other people that have potential of watching this at their own time, at their own leisure, when it's convenient for them. Zoom is a great tool for time management. So even though there are all of these choices, choose something that's going to work for you. Don't overthink it. Choose something and then learn it. Dive into it. Make it work the best possible way for you and your team. Fabulous. You've got this. These are the topics and these are the tools that we're offering for success. Creating your personal and professional value, vision, and mission. And then evaluating and creating your hospital's value, vision, and mission, because that's what helping you prioritize in time management or even just in any projects coming down the pike. How do we determine what we need and want, and how is that helping us get to our vision? Whether the vision is 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, how are we doing that together? There were tips in getting organized and delegating as being a fabulous way of time management and elevating and empowering others on your team. Plus, you learned how to say no gracefully, and that again, those no's are based upon your values, vision, and mission. Clarity in the path you want to travel down. So just a reminder, we have upcoming webinars. This is the second of 5 webinars. In October, we're going to be discussing designing in-hospital training, this idea of holiday stress and how to help relieve veterinary teams through that, and healthy team habits in December. So if you haven't signed up for them yet, please do so. That way you can receive all of the information that's coming down the pike about those, and even participating in surveys, because you see we do utilize that tool. Fabulous. I, again, appreciate you being here with us in the live session and also reviewing this at your convenience. If you have questions beyond the live webinar, please reach out to us at getcatalyst@catalystvetpc.com. We're happy to help you with those questions. Now for me to go to the chat and see if there are any questions there. And you can continue to reach out to us right now as well in chat. Earlier you missed out on the anticipation because yes, it seemed like it was going to be a karaoke seminar. Thanks, Natalie. So if you have some questions pertaining to setting priorities, evaluating your hospital's value, vision, missions, or even personal values, vision, and mission, let us know. Questions about the technology piece. What are you just itching to know? Now's the time to put that in the chat. We appreciate the fact that you're attending. And again, you can always reach out to us. You know, we offer career coaching, mentoring of managers. We do in-hospital team training and workshops. It's one of the things we really enjoy doing. Team workshops. Team building of all kinds. All right, well, I am not seeing any chats come in. So with that, I will say thanks again for participating. We will be sending out an email with the notes, with the 10 tips for a productive day, and also this how to avoid micromanaging your veterinary team and how to empower them and set them up for success. Sweet. You are very welcome, Natalie. Thanks, everybody, and have a delightful week.